which is round 2 preview. Oh dear, what a start. Brought to you by DrivingMaul. Hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, your best place for predictions and opinion. And it looks like it is going to be a solo show with you from me tonight for you. So do have a chat in the live chat if you are watching live, and let me know your thoughts as we go through both of the games. So obviously the big thing this weekend is that last year the Springboks beat the All Blacks in Wellington and the Pumas beat the Wallabies in Australia. Can both the teams back up those away wins last year and do it again this year? Fascinating thing. It's got to be an absolute age since that situation has sort of been around. So yeah, really looking forward to it and seeing what they might do. So kicking off first, we have New Zealand versus South Africa, the 7:35 kickoff as we normally get here in New Zealand. Down in Wellington, it's a sold-out game, so it should be a good crowd, good atmosphere. Sorry, obviously it's going to be a good crowd. It's going to be sold out, isn't it? So it should be a good atmosphere. So looking forward to that. Both sides kind of left a lot of players. Well, New Zealand left a lot of players at home when they travelled over to Argentina, and South Africa sent a lot of players ahead of them across to New Zealand. That missed that game. So lots of changes for both teams in their match day 23s. Looking at New Zealand, we've got Moody, Taylor, Franks. So that's Crusaders front row there with Retallick and Whitelock in the engine room. So basically, you might argue that whether Dane Cole's his first choice hooker or Cody Taylor is nowadays. But basically, yeah, that looks like a first choice front five. Shannon Frizzell then gets his chance in the 6th jersey with Matt Todd and Kieran Reid, 2 more Crusaders on the loose side and at number 8. TJ Perinara, Richie Mo'unga are the guys who are going to run the show. Then we have Sonny Bill Williams and Jack Goodhue in the centres. Good evening, Andre. Great to have you with us. And then a back 3 of Rico Iwani, Ben Smith, and then in that 15 jersey, Beauden Barrett. So the 2 big shocks or big surprises in this one really are, I think Matt Todd was a bit surprised to see him get a start. But yeah, not surprised actually really think Sam Kane's getting rested. And then Beauden Barrett at 15. That's the big surprise, really. Just quickly go through the bench first before we get on to that kind of stuff. So Coles, Ofa Tuangafasi and Angus Ta'avo are the front row, which was the starting front row last weekend on the bench. Via Fafita is going to cover the locks, which is really kind of interesting, as that's one of the things that he got criticised for last year was playing too much lock and not enough 6. So interesting to see that he's being used as the replacement lock, or in that jersey at the very least. Dawson Papali'i gets another chance from the bench. Then you've got Aaron Smith, Anton Leonard-Brown in the 22 jersey, and George Bridge in the 23 jersey. So yes, no space for Josh Ioane on the bench, which means that Beauden Barrett is the replacement fly half, but he's obviously starting actually on the pitch. So quite a few players with not much experience. I mean, Frizzell, just the 4 caps. Richie Mo'unga, even though he's been around and a great player, only 9 caps to his name, but a surprise there. Jack Goodhue, only 7. On the bench, Angus Ta'avo with 4, Dawson Papali'i with 2, and George Bridge with just that solitary cap against Japan last year. So, not a surprise that all those big changes. But I'll say a couple of them there. First one up is the big one really is Beauden Barrett at 15. Is Mo'unga Barrett the kind of replacement for the Barrett McKenzie axis that we saw last season? Are we going to revert back that 2 playmaker style of play, or are we going to see Beauden Barrett playing in more of a traditional 15 and injecting himself into the line like a traditional 15, like a Ben Smith kind of would do? As Andre says, best 10 in the world, the world's best 10 at 15, and the world's best 15 at 14. As I say, surprised they're trying it so close to Rugby World Cup. I think they're trying lots of combinations out just so that they're ready. A bit like trying Geordie Barrett in the 11 jersey last weekend. It's kind of like, yeah, if we have to play this formation through, then let's give the guys a bit of a run out at this. Because let's be honest, Beauden Barrett has not played much 15 in the last couple of years. So, are we going to see a reversion to that style of play we saw last year with Damon McKenzie and Beauden Barrett playing left and right first receivers at the rucks, at central midfield, which is going to be interesting if we do that. The other point here is that was a good. If you want to have a quick look at that, and have a look at Squidge Rugby's video looking at yesterday's game, look at last week's game, because he talks about that point, that how the All Blacks had to change from having two playmakers on the pitch, and of course that gets them back into that situation. The other thing that got pointed out tactically from last weekend, particularly by an article in Rugby Pass, was that the All Blacks had moved away from a 1-3-3-1 formation of their forwards. So basically the idea that you have two pods of three in the middle of the pitch and one player out wide each side, sort of Dane Coles, very famous for playing out wide and doing that sort of thing. Fafita has shown he's really good at that position as well, quick player. So that's they were actually playing with two forwards just outside the ruck, and what that did was it attracted the attention of the four rush defenders there, allowing Aaron Smith to put a pass in behind to Beauden Barrett and letting the ball get wider quicker. We'll see if they stick with that tactics this weekend against the Springboks, or whether they revert back to having two pods of three in the middle of the pitch and having the passing it to the central guy and having options either side of him plus the ball out the back. Will they revert back to that tactic that we've seen very popular recently, or are they going to keep with trying out that two forwards just outside the ruck to lock in those four sort of first four defenders? We'll see. Going to be interesting to see how that goes. Yeah, I'm also very happy for Shannon Frizzell. I think Frizzell is going to be the first choice 6 unless Liam Squire comes back into the reckoning. But at the moment, yes, I think Frizzell probably will be that first choice 6. Looking at the Springboks then. Kitsoff, Marks and Malherbe are the front row. Eben Etzebeth back after playing last weekend, and Franco Mostert. Etzebeth, one of 3 players, along with Peter Steph-Toit and Mapipi, who are the 3 players who were retained from last week. So we've got 12 new players on in the starting 15. So Etzebeth Mostert there. A player that everyone's really excited to see is Quagga Smith in that number 6 jersey, which means the loose forward. Obviously, for South Africa, he's only got 1 cap to his name. It's amazing for when you consider how integral he's been for the Lions. But he's been playing a lot of 7s, so just got 1 cap there. So yeah, Quagga Smith, Peter Steph-Toit, Dwayne Vermeulen is actually captain. Bit of a surprise there when you think that players like Etzebeth have been captain in the past. But looking at strengthening that leadership team there. Faf de Klerk, Henri Pollard come in. In that 9-10 combination. We then have Delende and Am in the centres, Mapimpi, Keslin Colby, and Willie LaRue as the back 3. Obviously, Colby has been tearing things up with Toulouse. Really excited to see him back in it as well. Rob Bull, hi, good to see you there. Mags midfield for the for the All Blacks. Interesting, I hadn't figured that one out, but yes, that's good. Going back to his school rugby. So that's the choice there. One of the points that has been made, and I think that a lot of people have been made, is that man for man is the with Matt Todd and Fafita and Frizzell in there up against Quagga Smith and Peter Steph-Toit, are the man for man, are the Lucies stronger for the Springboks? Yes, but you remember, it's not man against man, is it? It's a team sport, and so maybe they are man for man on paper, a better loose forward, but it's going to be how they complement each other and how they combine. Looking at the replacements for South Africa, their entire bench, except for Franz Stein, all started last weekend. So Mbobi, the Beast, Nyakeni, the front row, RG Steinman, Francois Lowe, Herschel Yanchis, obviously after that, after his amazing debut last weekend, Franz Stein in the 22 jersey, and Jesse Creel. Lots of sort of noise being made about the fact that Stein's there in that 22 jersey, but the Rasmussen has been very clear to say that, look, Elton Yanchis is the second choice fly half. He will be going as second choice fly half to the Rugby World Cup, but they've got to figure out what happens if Pollard or Yanchis get injured, because Williams at the moment is injured. So hence he's made it very clear that just because he's picking players ahead of other players this weekend does not mean that this is his first choice side. He is trying things out ahead of the Rugby World Cup, which is what you've got to do. Peter Seftoy also has been captain, by the way. I forgot about that. So it's interesting to see Vermeulen get the captaincy ahead of both of those two. Last year, the result in this game was that South Africa won 34-36, just a 2-point win. In fact, over the last 3 games, we've had 2 2-point wins and 1 1-point win. So a total of 5 points has been the winning margins for the past 3 games. So expect this one to be a tight one. Yes, the one before that did blow out up in Albany. Was it a 44-point win or whatever? But those 3 games have been very close since then. So do keep expect this one to be close again. I'll say totally changed team for the Springboks, so it's going to be a lot about how well do they gel. Because if you think about from a All Blacks point of view, there's a lot of Crusaders in there who are used to playing with each other, so that shouldn't be a problem for them. But we've got a lot of players who've come back. So Willie LaRue from Wasps in England, you've got Colby from France, Faf from also to come back from England in South Sharks, and Mostert from England playing for Gloucester. So a number of players coming from overseas won't be in part of camps and stuff as well. So kind of interesting to see how that all goes. I'm going for the All Blacks by 7, but to gain revenge for last year. Neither of these sides are first choice sides. Let's be honest. This isn't what the war is. These are skirmishes ahead of the Rugby World Cup, which is the real battle. So both sides won't be are trying things out, and it's going to be really interesting to see what's the style of play more than anything else. Just a quick between games, just a quick reminder that you can become a supporter of Driving Maul. Link down below to patreon.com/DrivingMaul. That's to become a supporter, where you get exclusive access to opinion video pieces and other articles as well that I put on there. It's only $1 a month, so please go and give that a go. Hey Alan, great to see you in the live chat there as well. Thank you for joining us. So on to the Wallabies versus the Pumas. Again, the away side won this one last year by a narrow margin. Looking at the Australian side, out go Harry Johnson-Holmes. Now, let's be honest, he was brought in injury. He got his debut last time. Bernard Foley, Dane Hewlett-Petty, Tom Banks, and Jack Dempsey. So a bunch of players there in Foley, Hewlett-Petty, Banks, that perhaps maybe Dempsey as well, who, you've got to say, a bit surprised at, really. If we were talking about, again, Australia just trying to continue with their best side. But no, they're switching things around as well. As they've said, in comes Scott Seo, Christian Leofano, and that is the big one here, isn't it? Because obviously we have he's come back from his leukemia, and it's great to see him back playing for the Wallabies. Corey Betty, Luke Jones, and James O'Connor come in. Now, one of the big things that we're seeing here from Checker, and I guess we should have expected this because we've seen something similar before the last Rugby World Cup when he brought Giteau and Mitchell back, is that there are a number of players coming back from big breaks from playing for the Wallabies. It's 1,125 days since Christian Leofano last played for the Wallabies. For James O'Connor, 2,140 days apparently. Jones, 1,700 days. Slipper, over 1,000 days as well. And Nick White was before last weekend with 1,400 days. So a whole bunch of players who have had big gaps from the international arena are in there. So let's just run through that 15 for you. So Seo, Fainga and Kepu are the front row. Rodder and Arnold in the engine room. Salake Lotto, who had a really impressive game last weekend, I thought, in the 6 jersey. Hooper and Nazarani, number 8, for his second test. Yeah, no debuts this weekend. Genia and Leofano come into that axis. Then we have Karevi and Kurandrani, the 2 big guys in the centres there, with Korobetti, Hodge, and Beale out on the as your back 3. Now, Curly Beale came back and played very well in the last game off the bench, and I think I was thinking that perhaps that was how he's going to get used in future, in that kind of impact player role when he's got more space, when people are a little bit more tired. But Curly Beale getting another go in that 15 jersey. For the reserves, Latu, Slipper, Tupu. Even though Topu got that card last weekend, yeah, he's not been punished or reprimanded for that. Those 3 are back on are on the bench. Simmons is the lock replacement. Luke Jones, the Lucy replacement. Nick White and Matt Tamua in the 21 and 22 jerseys. So one of the players, obviously James O'Connor in the 23 jersey as well. So Matt Tamua, Sonny says, look like he is that replacement 22, because obviously he can come off the bench and not only play 10, but he can also play 12 as well. So maybe looking at him being one of those kind of ideal bench players. So they say all those players coming back. Now, one of the things that, a lot of people are very down on the Wallabies after last weekend. And what we saw there was, to me, wasn't as bad a performance as everyone's saying. Sure, the second half they came out definitely second best, but in that first half they had 2 tries they could easily have scored. First off, Karevi with that forward pass, and also then Dane Hallett-Petty fumbling over the line. And those 2 tries are scored, and the Wallabies are well up at half time. That's a totally different ball game. So, I don't think the Wallabies are quite as bad as everybody is painting them out to be, to be honest. But they've got the Pumas now. They've got 2 games against the All Blacks after that, 2 Bledisloe Cup games. They could very well go into the Rugby World Cup with having lost all these 4 games in the warm-up. They've got a Samoa game as well, which you'd expect them to win in Australia. So they could go into the Rugby World Cup having only won 1 out of 5 games. And then the first game at the Rugby World Cup is against Fiji. So this one is very important for them, and they're going to realise that for morale. They're going to need a good performance. They're going to want to have that win. Heading over to the Pumas, and as Rob says in the chat, yeah, we just really hope that they've got the emotional energy to keep going. They've already gone through a Super Rugby final. A lot of these players, they've got a few more foreign players brought in, but on the whole, most of these players have had a couple of really draining games emotionally in that Super Rugby final, and then followed that up by just a 4-point loss to the All Blacks last weekend. They really did push them close. That would have been their first ever win over the All Blacks. So, yeah, emotion, being able to get up for this game is going to be a really big thing for the Pumas, and let's hope they can keep going, as Rob says. Tatsi, Montoya, Figalo are your front row. Creevy is injured this weekend. You've got Petty and Lavanini in the engine room there. Then Matera, Lozana and Issa in the loose forwards. If you're listening to myself and Herman on Monday night, I think it was, when we reviewed the game, he was calling for Issa and saying, hey, look, you need to get Issa back in this side. He's one of those ball carriers that the Pumas have been missing, because you've got Lavanini, Matera. There were only 2, and Creevy were the 3 that were carrying the ball most. So getting Issa in there, especially with Creevy out, is really important for them from a ball carrying point of view. Cabelli, Sanchez are going to run things. Obviously good again for Sanchez to get more game time, used to his players around him. De La Fuente, Moroni are the 12 and 13. Moroni moving in from the wing, and that allows them to play Moyano, and Cordero is the guy who's pushed Moroni in. Obviously, he's been playing well for Exeter Chiefs this past season. So you've got Cordero and Issa, the 2 overseas players, joining Tetzer and Sanchez as the 4 overseas players in this side. And then finally, Tucolette is there in the 15 jersey, with Buffelli dropping out of the match day at 23. Sorkino comes in. It could be his debut at hooker. Now that's really shows you that the Pumas need to give him game time, because if they lose either Montoya or Creevy, the next choice is pretty poor. I mean, it's one of those things we've been saying, or next choice has got really little experience, sorry. One of the things we've been saying about the All Blacks is after the first two, hey, there's a big drop-off at hooker. So similar situation for Argentina. Vivas and Herrera are the other two front row replacements. Alemano and Leguizamon round out the forward replacements. Ezekura, Bonilla and Orlando are the backs replacements. So Rob calls this the battle of the wooden spoon. Yes and no, because I mean, South Africa have now got to travel to Argentina for that last game. So definitely could say that the Pumas could beat the Springboks, and the Springboks could go into, we could end up with the Springboks, the Pumas and the Wallabies all with just one win to their name come at the end of this championship. So I'm actually going for the Pumas to win this one by 5. To back up their win in Australia last year. The Wallabies have been disappointed. They've not been able to finish those opportunities. Their execution just isn't quite there. Now maybe they'll click on Saturday night. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But this Pumas side can go through lots and lots of phases. They can really hold on to the ball. They can starve you of possession. I can't see this Wallabies side putting up the defensive effort that the All Blacks did. The Wallabies are going to want that ball and want to be running with it. They're not going to want to be defending for long periods of time in the same way that the All Blacks were comfortable to do so last weekend. Obviously, a lot of it is going to be important around those ball carriers that I talked about already for them, because Australia have gone for a big pack again, just like they did last weekend against the Springboks. They are going to try and bash people. So this is going to be a tough game for the Pumas. Obviously, both sides have had a lot of travel over the last week. You'd expect the Pumas want to get it out wide to the Corderos. Moyano, Moroni made all those breaks in the Super Rugby final. Seeing him, putting him in that 13 jersey, there's lots of pace, there's lots of guile there, and they're going to be wanting to use that to obviously as much as they can. So another cracking game. I will be live after the All Blacks versus the Springboks with Michael Pullman, giving a live post-match reaction straight after the final whistle, and I'll be live straight after this game, the Wallabies versus the Pumas, with Herman giving a live post-match reaction to this game. This one kicks off, I think it's 10 p.m. on New Zealand time. So about midnight-ish we'll be going live after this game, and around about 9:30 we'll be going live after the All Blacks game. So join us for those games as well, people. Looking forward to it. Should be a cracker. Checker is holding back his master plan. He's been playing dumb for 3 years, altogether for Japan. Maybe so. Maybe he's been bluffing for this past 3 years, lulling us all into a false sense of security, thinking that, hey, Fiji could get up and beat the Wallabies, and suddenly they're going to make it to the final yet again. We will have to wait and see. Love your faith there, Rob. I'm not sure that that's really what's been going on. But have a great weekend all. Enjoy both games. As I say, join me for live post-match reactions to those. And don't forget, if you'd like to support the channel, check down below in the notes. There is a link to patreon.com/DrivingMaul. It's only $1 a month, and you get access to my exclusive weekly video opinion pieces, plus written articles as well. So go check that out.